Make the ground shake.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host GamerK, and it's time, finally. Oh wait, I did do a game. Wait, did I do a game review last? Nah, I didn't. It's time for another game review, ladies and gentlemen, and this one goes near and dear to me for a couple reasons. For one thing, last year for this month of my father's birthday, I decided to do all 6 CSI Las Vegas video games in one video, and oh, that was a long video and a lot of explaining. But now we're going into the spin-offs of the series, and we're going to start off with, honestly, one of the best set of cast in the entire CSIs, other than the main one, and home to one of my favorite couples in the game. We're going to New York to settle with Mac and the team. Now, a good number of people will always say, well, the series was good, so the game's gonna be good. Unfortunately, this is the one goof up of the CSI video game series, so I'm gonna show you guys right now. There's the cover with Mac and Stella on the cover. Sorry for the glare, I've got a new light, I'm testing it out. And a big problem that I realized with this is, well, most of the other games were developed with Telltale and obviously published by Ubisoft. This one was done by Legacy Interactive, which, okay, granted, this happened in 2008, so I didn't really know how to examine games and studios at all. But because I was a CSI game fan, and I literally have all the CSI video games, especially even the CSI Miami one, I will be reviewing that later next year, hopefully. You think after, okay, so this game, if I'm remembering correctly, is within, let's see, crime scene investigation, dark motives, 3 dimensions of murder, CSI Miami, hard evidence. This is the 6th game overall in the CSI game series. So you think they know what worked very well and decided to continue on that route. But much like a crime investigation, yeah, the case can take a weird turn, and this one was not for the best. So going into it, there are a good number of problems you can see right from the start. For one, when you start a new game, it shows the 4 cases. I mean, obviously, 3 of them are locked because you got to do the first case. So basically, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to set the motion for a bit. So, the game, like all the other CSI games, have 5 cases. And honestly, they're all pretty well written. They're all really well done. The first case, a man falls from a building, but for some reason he shouldn't have been in that building. Turns out urban climbing is the next big thing, and our victim was a grand star in the up and rising sport. Did his ego in the sports get too big for his britches, or was there other motives, including body modifications, that led to his downfall? Next, a food critic is found dead in the freezer of an unopened restaurant. And there seems to be some indications that the mob, was also on tonight's menu. But is that just a red herring on today's menu? And did the main dish serve up murder? For the third case, during a freak show performance on Coney Island, a dead body is discovered on a stage. Upon investigation, we found out a lot of lies happen on Coney Island. And when another body is discovered, there seems to be more to this freak show than meets the eye. In the fourth case, a a prep school blogger who made many, many enemies with her outlandish accusations and her gossip is shot before she could reveal a big secret. Upon her death, we interview all those who hated her and discover that an even more twisted secret and even more information comes out from the dead. And in the fifth case, a ghost from Mac's past ends up dead, and Mac is being deemed the prime suspect. You will have to dig through all his previous life in order to discover the hidden murder. Now, normally, this would have been fantastic if there were a couple things wrong. For one, once you upload this game, you have to go to the website that's there and download the fifth case. Yeah, the fifth case is said to be bonus episode, but it's the fifth case. This isn't like 3 Dimensions of Murder where they had an extra where you play the second case of hard evidence just as a bonus. No, that you literally need to download the fifth case if you want to beat the entire game. And the big problem for me was when I did that, there was sound audio, and during the little, the recreation scenes, there is dialogue speech, but it only happens in the final scene of that for the fifth case. There was no audio for any of the characters' speech, which honestly was a big letdown. Okay, going into the whole game now, instead of going for the 3D and point and click investigation thing that the other games decided to do, and the 2 final games of the series did after this game was released, this game goes for a 2D text-speech design, and it's like Criminal Case, but worse. No, Criminal Case is better, but this is worse, because it's all 2D artwork, and the characters' lips don't move. It's obviously the cast's voice and all the characters' voices, but there's no animation towards it. It's just, like, static art versions of themselves, and it's boring. Not only that, but in all the other games, you play the newbie, the new CSI, and each case, you partner with a member of CSI. We partnered with Warwick, Nick, Sarah, Catherine, Grissom, Greg, Riley, and Ray in the last 2 games. In the CSI Miami one, we play as everyone. But this game, they decide to we play as either Mac or Stella and investigate the crime as them. I'm sorry, this one really ticks me off for all the reasons I'm stating. Not only that, for some reason, the other characters pop in once in a while to help out. Hawks, Danny, Lindsay's in the lab with Adam for some reason or another, which doesn't make any sense. And it's difficult to explain, but it's just infuriating that this is the route they decided to go with this. I could imagine what it would be like if it was with the 3D engine that Telltale used for the rest of the games. Okay, except for Miami, that was done by another publisher, but by another game designer. But still, all 6 CSI games, Vegas did the exact same thing and improved upon it, which made it great. But this is what they went with for New York. They did the same thing with Miami that they did with the second game, Dark Motives, and it was fantastic. This is the one they choose to go in a different route. It doesn't make sense. Not only that, but the investigation sections of crime scene investigation is boring. It's boring. Because here's how it goes. So we go to the crime scene. In the bottom, there is like fuzzy images that say what you need to find, except some of them aren't even evidence. Yes, they are doing... Okay, basically it is again, criminal case, when they tell you what you need to find in the hidden image, like there are stuff hidden in the image and you got to find them and you got to find all of it, evidence and non-evidence, in order to progress. I mean, yeah, when criminal case did it, it was actually good because it wasn't tight, because we actually got into the story quick. But in this, oh my God, I'm sorry, but I love CSI New York, but this game is the death of, this is basically why they didn't do the other spin-off games, basically, I'm guessing. Like, once you complete the area, then you get to talk to suspects that are there. I'm not kidding. You don't even get to choose to do the investigation, look at the body, look around for evidence, talk to the suspects whenever you get new information from evidence. The entire game has this linear path that is set, and you can't go outside of the path. The game is extremely forces you to go forward, and it's not even like in the fun way of the other CSI games. In those, you go around the area, look for evidence, and actually investigate, and then you choose to go back to the scene if you think you missed something, talk to suspects again once you gather new evidence. And you can't even do that because once you finish the investigation part, the suspects come into play. And it's this stupid thing where in their text, there's highlighted words that will give more information. And then you have to, for some logical reason, you have to pick certain pieces of evidence that you have, drag them to the character so you can either get more information or not. And there's this also stupid star rating where depending on how well you did with everything, if you made mistakes during minigames, if you made mistakes during investigation, if you made mistakes during interrogation, you'd go down a level, which honestly I couldn't care less. I play these games to enjoy the characters and enjoy the fun murder stories. And yes, the stories are good, but it's just the execution of the gameplay that ruins it. It's basically like every other, it's kind of like, I know I've said this a lot in my channel, it's like Overwatch, where the characters are fantastic, you want to know more about the story, but the gameplay is boring as heck. And that's what this game is. Let's see, what else did I miss? Oh, right. I keep forgetting. They did manage to get the cast back from the series to join in. But in some parts, collecting in the evidence is some of the most irritating thing in the entire planet. I swear to God. For collecting blood or any liquid evidence, you need to, with your mouse or your cursor, if you don't have a mouse, trace over the thing exactly, and if you go into it, you gotta start all over again. You know, instead of just hitting the swab tool and taking a sample, they managed to make collecting blood into a mini game, which is boring. Dusting for fingerprints is also boring. Collecting anything is boring, and it expels into the other sections of the game. Like in the first case, in order to find the tattoo design that our victim had, we have to do stupid match game and match the tattoos together until there's one left. I mean, in later cases, they do something fun like I don't know, the unscrambling the text message, the email messages by removing the 3 extra letters in order to make the full letter. That's in only the 4th case, but the rest of the mini games are boring. Even in the morgue, they made the morgue into a freaking mini game. I don't know how they did it, but they managed to, by putting an X-ray or the stomach contents of the victim sometimes next to a healthy one, and it's basically find the differences. Like, how? How can you do that in a CSI video game? Spot the differences. And again, even the lab work is boring as heck. like, you just, like, there's a piece of evidence from another part, and the piece of evidence you collected, you gotta turn the dials until the image is unblurry and it's perfect. You gotta do these, take away all these molecules in order to do the DNA or chemical analysis for anything. It's just boring. It's all basically, they managed to turn everything into a mini game, and it's not even fun ones. Like, the couple good ones are overshadowed because you do the exact same thing every case. I mean, granted, when you do DNA evidence and chemical analysis in the other CSI video games, you do have to do the exact same thing. I mean, at least in the last two games. The other ones, you just put it to the computer, and there's not much difficulty to do with that, which I think added to the difficulty. But in this, you just do the exact same mini games, case for case. Oh, I almost forgot. This game may have created the idea of, if a suspect is lying about something, you have to have that already analyzed piece of evidence to prove it in interrogation. But this one takes it to a whole new level. During any type of interrogation of any suspects, if you've got evidence that works for you, drag it and it will say click a selected, like a certain part of the evidence, which in the final case, when you have to do a wheelchair, it's boring as shit. It's outright boring. And oh my God, not only that, but whereas the other cases were really spread out in terms of victims and killers, yeah, four male killers and only one female. I'm not giving it away which one because it's not well spread out. And for victim wise, 3 male victims and 3 female victims, because 2 of them are in one case. It's not spread out evenly enough. It's like they just ran out of ideas and they just did this just to do it, which sucks. Oh my God, I'm getting a migraine from this. I mean, as much as I love CSI New York, this game is boring to a crime game fan and a CSI New York fan. Even though it's great it sounds like a great concept, but because everything's just lackluster. It's like they had their high moments with all the other games, but then for this one, they decided to try something different, and that's where it downgraded, which sucks. I can't say any more of how infuriating this is, because it's basically, like, what really sucks about it is, yeah, you can talk to suspects again, but again, it's all linear. Only at certain parts of the game do you go back to certain suspects and then bring the killer into interrogation. Like, you don't need to secure a warrant. You don't need to go to Brass or Flack. You don't have to go to Flack in order to get information on suspects legal-wise. You don't have to get suspect warrants. You don't have to get location warrants. You don't have to get arrest warrants. That's what every other CSI game did, and it worked. It made you feel like you were a part of it. But this, you're playing the role as Mac or Stella, and it just doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're an invisible phantom around them doing nothing but just watching them solve a case instead of you solving the case. And that's where the other CSI games hit the mark. They make you feel like you are a member of the team. So, for many of these reasons, if you want to play the game, I'm not, like, there's no crime in that. But to say this game is at the top notch of all the other CSI games, I would have to say you're lying. Because the stories everything's in 2D art form. There's no real investigation going on because everything's preset and it's linear that you don't have a choice. There's no choice of going back to talk to suspects about once you acquire new evidence to get more of the story. There's no fun mini games or somewhat puzzles. Well, okay, not puzzles, but investigation of evidence or crime scenes, because you can't do anything except what it tells you to do. And that's what takes the challenge away. You're supposed to look around for evidence. You're supposed to see things that you missed. But yet again, I will still always love CSI New York, but this game is not ready for the Big Apple. So for everything I've mentioned, GamerK's final verdict for CSI New York, the video game, is a 5 out of 10. It gets the 5. I was originally going to give it a 6 because at least my love for CSI New York kind of gives it a notch. But my love for CSI New York cannot condone the terrible decision of going to the 2D art form with this text style investigation. Like, I mean, even though the stories are well done, I was expecting more from the CSI games. And that's all. Play the other CSI games if you want a real challenge. Even Miami, it's really fun going and doing that one and playing all the other ones again. But as far as New York, it's one to play just to play, not to replay over and over again. So that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and it's time to end the month of June, and man, June's come too soon, and it feels like it just started. Coming up next week, because my father chose this video, he surprisingly chose one of something I really like. I'm going to do another try not to laugh challenge of one of my favorite YouTubers, and I hope I don't have to edit anything out. This is GamerK, logging out.